This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Until midnight tonight from New York, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, in California, a person that we love talking to about once a week, once every couple of weeks, whatever. His name is Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Lawrence.
Hello, Alex. Yes.
Yes.
I know I'm Mr. Excitement, so
well, you know what we should
have
do?
Me on here.
What we should do is we should change your name. Now, here's what I'm talking about. You know, today they always do things like J-Lo, you know, things like that. So I'm just thinking that something like LBB would be really a great way to refer to you. How you doing?
Notorious LBB.
Let's just try it on. How you feeling, LBB?
Yeah, I kind of like that. You had a good one. I actually said it on stage one night because of the changing demographics. I should change my name to El FOMO.
El what?
El FOMO. It got a laugh, too. I tried it.
El FOMO. Oh, boy. Yeah. Hey, you been working at all now that the some of the restrictions have been lifted?
I did have one of my first real gigs the other night, yes, in Lodi, but as a winery. It was actually very nice. So it was fun. I could barely remember 20 minutes, so...
that had to be real strange after, what, a year and 4 months?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
I saw Rich Scheidner. I don't know if you know him. He bought a bunch of comics were saying, I'm really lost on stage right now. And he said that after Richard Pryor had his accident, that it took him a full year to get back to normal. So on stage. Yeah.
Well, I mean, people don't understand this, but there's such a thing as there's certain person gets up and does comedy, and they just think, oh, that looks easy, you know. Well, the hard part it's like gay sex. The hard part is making it look easy. The hard part is making it look easy. I mean, you make it look effortless, and yet there's a lot that goes into it. There's the creation of the material, there's the timing, there's the, you know, and then you got to remember all this stuff.
You got to remember the material. Rodney Dangerfield, someone that used to work with him, told me he'd freaked out every day he did a show because in an hour he would do 250 to 300 jokes.
Wow. And
so he would just listen to a cassette all day and try to get him in his head.
Really?
Yeah.
You would think that would kind of come naturally, you know. That I wonder if Henny Youngman had the same problem. There was another. I mean, we're talking about comedians who tell jokes one after the other.
Yeah, the one-liners, and you can do like a quick joke is like 10 seconds, so you can do 6 in a minute.
Who's the guy I'm thinking of? He was in Reservoir Dogs. He did the voice in Reservoir Dogs.
Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright, I mean, it's one joke after another. There is no material, as it were. There's no pieces, hunks, you know.
No, and he walks back and forth to the corners of the stage, and someone told me when he was doing that, he was trying to remember the next joke.
Yeah, because I mean, he was one joke after the. He was a great one-liner.
Great jokes, and none of them were connected to each other, so you don't even get a chunk. So that's why it'd be really hard to remember.
Yeah. He is. I haven't seen him do comedy lately. Is there a reason for that?
I think he's got a strong enough following where he can pretty much sell out a 2,000 seat theater anywhere, so you can make a pretty good living doing that. And I think that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah. So he just kind of like just does one or two couple of shows a year to make his living, and yeah. But
he had that amazing shot on Carson in '82 when I was a rookie comic, and I remember he got an HBO special, but they were trying to put him in a sitcom or something, they really didn't know what to do with him, other because he just tells these jokes.
He didn't fit anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a great voice. That's why they used Tarantino used him in Reservoir Dogs as the radio announcer. And it really fit. It really worked. But there was no material there that he had to do. It was something he was just reading, So, no, you couldn't. What could you, Stephen Wright? What kind of a sitcom could you put him in? Maybe.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
Maybe about a guy who has a medical problem in which all he ever talks in is one-liners. Maybe that would be a good series for him.
That might work. Yeah.
I mean. Did you the trouble with you, Larry, I think you could have had a bigger career. I really think you could have had a bigger career. I think you...
Well, it couldn't have been much smaller.
No, it hasn't been small. I mean, let's face it, you're still working to this day. There are comedians who love to have you open for them because you're a great act to put on before any other comic, just simply because you don't spoil the room. You're a very low-key act, so, nobody would want to follow a loud act. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't want to follow, for instance, in the old days, Bob Goldthwait. No way to follow him.
Oh, my God, no.
And it's not that Goldthwait was good, although he was, but in those days. But it wasn't that he wasn't good, it was just that he was loud. And you can't follow that. You can't follow a guy who plays a musical instrument in his act. These are all people... Someone that juggles. We're talking about acts literally that kill the room. You don't kill the room. You do your jokes, you come out, you're low-key, and then anybody can follow you. It's not that you're not as good as they are. It's just that you don't spoil the room for them.
That's a good point, and I tell younger comics, I don't think anyone gets famous anymore. But if you want to make a living, if you can open for someone that is famous, that's not a bad life.
Well, I know. I remember somebody once that I knew that was opening for somebody, and it was somebody fairly famous, and he said, "Boy, I'm going to go up there and blow them away," and I went, "That's not your job."
Yeah,
that's not your job.
Worst thing you can do.
Your job is to set up the room for them. You're not the main act. You're the opening act. You're supposed to set the table, as it were, right? And he went,
so you don't want to work for this guy again?
Yeah, he said, I'm going to blow him away. I said, that's not your job. Your job is to just set up the room for him. And that's what you do. Because you are cognizant of the fact that you're not the headliner.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And Will Durst used to have the feeling that he followed somebody that was really loud one night. It was kind of rough, and he said, "Well, I'm the headliner. I should be able to follow anyone." But I said, "No, that you should be set up."
And that person who's opening for you should have enough respect for you that he doesn't try to turn the room.
Yeah.
And if he can't do that, then he shouldn't be opening for you. But no, I don't agree with Durst because I think I could take Robin Williams or something and put him up against somebody who's louder than he is, and he would have a hard time following him.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the way that is. So the gigs went good then, huh?
The gig went very nice, yeah. So it's
were people required to still wear masks or?
No.
Okay.
Although things are getting bad again, so I think I was going to come back.
I know. I'm supposed to go into court in a couple of days for my apartment thing, and I don't want to show up. I just think it's getting dangerous out there again. The infection rate is high again. I mean, I've been vaccinated, but I can still get it, There's still a chance I can get it, and I don't.
I think you're safe. Even if you get it, you're not going to get as sick as you would. They say, right?
Yeah, and that's very nice to know. But are we sure of that? I mean, I think that we were jumping into this thing too fast by saying, "Take off your mask, go have a good time." It's like a nude swim at the lake during camp, Everybody go do what you got to do, and have a good time, and blah 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 blah. And oh, by the way, there's a new variant now. Well, what brought that on? I think it was all these people not having to wear masks anymore. So I mean, would we have had this new variant? Would it have been able to grab hold if everybody were still wearing masks? So I don't know.
The Delta variant.
The Delta variant, yes.
Which I thought was just another crappy airline.
Yeah, no, and there's one after it. There's like the Omega, I think, is the next one or something.
Oh, they'll probably run the alphabet.
They're going to run the alphabet, and then they're going to run the Jewish alphabet. There's going to be the Chi, and there's going to be the Aleph, and the and then them, but they're going to run the Greek alphabet. But I don't know if this thing's ever going away.
I'm beginning to think it's not.
I'm beginning to think that in one form or another, until everybody gets vaccinated, I mean everybody, it's still going to be there in various stages and various mutations. I mean, this is a very robust bug. It just keeps adapting and keeps adapting. Oh, you found something to give people shots against me, huh? Well, I'll fool you. I'll come up with something more. Then it just keeps coming and coming, and I'm sick. I'm sick and tired of it.
Well, the Spanish flu lasted 3 years and virtually disappeared in 1 week. So who knows?
Did it disappear in 1 week?
But it said virtually overnight. Like I think in a week. Yeah, just zap, it was gone.
Wow. Now, and they didn't come up with like a vaccine.
There was no vaccine then. No.
After it took about 50 million people, something like that.
They said 50, possibly 100 million, and the population of the world was a fourth of what it is now.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was incredible.
Wow. And then it just one day, no more.
I read literally gone in a week.
That I find hard to believe, but if they say that, it must be true.
Well, we can ask Alexa. But it was killed so many people. I can't get over those numbers.
Yeah, you know where it started. I was talking to somebody the other day. It started in Kansas in at a military army camp, and then it went to Europe. I don't know why they called it the Spanish flu.
Because it started here, and they sent the soldiers over there, and that's where they kind of delivered it in Spain. But it started here.
But were we at war in Spain? Were we fighting in Spain? I don't.
Oh, they're just funneling troops throughout Europe. So.
Oh, okay, all right.
And that was the thing that started in Kansas. They were burning a huge pile of horse crap, and they think that's where it came from. And all these guys breathed it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but this is, if we had got this, if the Spanish flu happened today, I think it wouldn't be a problem. Because we have antibiotics, and we have all kinds of things that we didn't have.
They probably have treatments for it, yeah.
Yeah. So if you talk about bugs which are more pernicious, this one is the worst, I think, ever. I think this may beat the Black Plague.
Well, that killed a quarter of the population.
Yeah, but how large was the population at the time?
True.
So what you're saying is that every so often a plague comes along and wipes out a quarter of the population.
Well, I wish that were true, but it would be good probably.
Well, I mean, couldn't we consider that that maybe this is nature's way of weeding us out?
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I think nature's saying, this place is too crowded. That's not healthy.
and what does cause the spread of these diseases is people getting together in crowds.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is that you had the Black Plague at a time when the population was far more sparse. I mean, I don't think you had what we call what do you call it? The event, the events that cause spread, mass spread events. I don't think we had that back then. We just had the Black Plague. And what caused the Black Plague? Do you know?
It was spread by rats, but it was a lot of it was done by, there was no sewage then. People would literally go to the bathroom like in London and just throw it out their window on the street.
But wait a minute, hold on a second. So the Black Plague was caused by fleas, I think, on rats.
But I think the shit and everything helped spread it. So rats running around.
The rats didn't have it. It was the fleas on the rats.
Right.
Yeah. And how many did that kill? Quarter of the population, you say?
Quarter of the population, but I don't know what the population was.
And then do you know how fast it went away?
That I don't know.
I'll bet it was really fast. Because it's not like if people got together and said, here's how you prevent the Black Plague. And then said, wear a mask and do this and do that and wash your hands and whatever. They didn't do that sort of thing. So apparently it probably just died out again on its own. Yeah,
this would be interesting to know, and I wonder if there's been any more plagues that we don't know about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is not going to be the last one for us,
No, there were small tribes of Indians in America that they got a bug and just wiped out the entire camp. So.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So I don't think people probably aren't meant to live close together.
I would say, but I mean, it's terrible. It's just terrible. This whole thing, and it's I've seen it in my lifetime. I mean, when I was a kid, we had all kinds of little things like that little thing called polio, but it was killing. But not that many. It wasn't deadly, or necessarily deadly.
But it was disabling.
It was disabling, yeah. And in that same period of time, we also had tuberculosis. But tuberculosis was, again, debilitating, but not necessarily killing people, although killing some people. I think my uncle died of tuberculosis.
Didn't they have sanitariums for people with tuberculosis?
Well, what they felt was the way to cure tuberculosis was to put you outdoors in a bed. In other words, I think what it did was it would just prevent the spread because it was outdoors. But they used to go to sanitariums, and during the day the beds would be rolled out into an area, and people would lie in their beds outdoors in the sun. They didn't know how to. Listen, they didn't know how to cure any of this stuff because we didn't have antibiotics. We didn't have the kind of medicine we have today. We're very lucky with COVID that we were able to come up with a vaccination. I mean, that we have the science now to do it. And the science they used for this vaccination was different than any other vaccination. Most vaccinations, they give you a little bit of whatever bug it is that you're trying to prevent. You get a small little case of it, and then you have antibodies. This was a whole different thing that had to do with DNA, there was nothing of live killed viruses in this vaccine. That's why I always argued they shouldn't have called it a vaccine. But we didn't have that years ago. We didn't have that back in the days of polio and tuberculosis and the Spanish flu, But when I was a kid, I mean, parents were really afraid their kids were going to get polio, and they wouldn't let them go swimming, for instance.
I heard my parents, because my sister's older than me, they were just absolutely freaked about polio back then. And they always mentioned it. Everybody thought it was swimming pools. And
Yeah, well, you just didn't want your kid to get it, and they felt that maybe it was in the water. But you know what they say caused polio? Cleanliness. And I know that doesn't make sense, but what happened is that prior to about the 20s or 30s, we were a very filthy country. You know, we had horse shit literally piling up on in gutters in the streets of America, you know, and we had all kinds of bugs running around and everything. So with all of that, you create antibodies. But when you start cleaning up the society, which we started doing at that point, you start creating a situation where especially the newer born kids are not born with the antibodies they would have been 20 years earlier. And that there was this little thing running around called polio, and it never could kind of grab hold because the world was too filthy for it. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
And that ultimately they did something about it, you know, and it was crazy, but it was the cleanliness that caused polio. At least that's what I saw in a book on polio. That they say that if had the world been a little dirtier, we wouldn't have had polio. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The other one I read was that that's when they started routinely removing people's tonsils. There was a theory that tonsils were actually a good virus barrier, and that might have.
Well, yes, it is, but I don't think that's what caused polio. I mean, it was that, you know, when kids are born, when you know, you send your kid to school, and your kid comes in contact with every bug known to mankind, and by the time he's through with school, with grade school, he's probably immune to a lot of things. But if you then clean everything up, and then you bring these kids into it, they're more susceptible. This is why kids got polio rather than adults for the most part. Although we did have adults who got it, the most famous being Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was pretty much, you know, in a wheelchair for most of his life. So,
although the public didn't know it.
They never knew it.
Never happened today.
Here, he used to come and speak at the Waldorf Astoria. And to this day, under the Waldorf Astoria is a train track. And what he used to do is bring the train, they'd bring the train and then they'd derail it and bring it into this track that went under the Ambassador Hotel, the Waldorf Astoria. And then there was an elevator that would take him up in his wheelchair. And it was so secret that nobody, in fact, there's no film, there's only one film of him in a wheelchair, or one photograph. They just wouldn't allow anybody to take a picture of him in the wheelchair. And the press was very, very good about that. The press went, you know, today everybody would give $100,000 to anybody who gets a picture of him in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah,
but in those days, the press had a lot of honor, and they went, well, we're just not going to make a big deal out of this. I'll give you another example.
Wasn't the press was aware that JFK was having all these affairs?
I was going to bring that up. Yes, they knew who he was sleeping with.
Boy, they'd never keep that under wraps now.
Yeah, and they just didn't report it. And I asked one reporter, why is it you don't report it? And he said, because we don't consider it important. And it's inflicting yourself on somebody's private life. That's the way they felt about it back then.
God, that's a better world.
Isn't it a better world? And today, I mean, for instance, I was told he was sleeping with Glynis Johns. Remember the actress Glynis Johns? The press,
really?
The press knew
I heard the name, yeah.
The press knew all about it, you know. But do you think they followed him places with her? You know, or tried to get a picture. Even if they could get a picture of him with her, they wouldn't publish it.
Jesus.
And it wasn't because they liked Kennedy. It was because they considered it improper that sex was off the table. Okay? Sexual affairs, pictures of people together, you know. that kind of thing, because that wasn't important. That had nothing to do with politics. Well, times have changed, haven't they, Bubs?
Not for the better.
Yeah. Boy, what a nice discussion we've had today.
Yes.
Yes, talking about the indiscretions of presidents and hiding presidents and just the whole thing about
Glynis Johns. Where do I know? What was she in? I remember the name.
I can't remember, but she was in quite a few films for a while. Very attractive woman.
Oh.
Very attractive woman. And then, of course, he was double teaming Marilyn Monroe with Bobby. You know. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't reported. Okay? Good example. Anyway, hey, listen, gotta go. We've run out of time.
This was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, well, we talked about disease and presidents. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. This is Larry Bubbles Brown, folks.
You got it.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And welcome back here. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. What happened to my background here? Look at that. It's doing really strange. Look at that. Oh, boy. This always has. Oh, there we. No. Now it's not. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I know what I can do. Let me put up some white here. There we go. And there. No. Wow. That is strange. That is really strange. Look at that. Let me see here. If I were to move this down, yeah, and then I move it up, is it still a problem? Oh, well, I guess it is. Let me see. What happens if I turn the lights up here? Oh, look at that. That's really, it sucks. That really sucks. Let me see here. Let me try turning up the lights a little bit here. No, that doesn't do it. That doesn't seem to do it. And that doesn't seem to do it. Wow. That's amazing. Oh, let me see here. What else can I do? How else can I change this? Okay, I will go here to filters, right? I will go to my camera. I will go to filters, and we'll see what happens here. Let me see if I can change it. See, everybody, see technically what I'm doing here. Okay, there's chroma key, and if I go out with let me see here, a little similarity, maybe that oh, there we go. Okay, there we go, I think, but I've got to change this down a little bit. I've got to go down a little bit. Oh no, I got to go up. That's got to go down. There we go. Got to go down. Got to go down. Here we go. Well, let me see here. Whoa. No, this really sucks, doesn't it? Huh? What is that all about? I have no idea. Let me see here. Smoothness. No, that doesn't change it. It's over here. There seems to be a problem with lighting or something. I don't know. That's really strange. Oh well. I think I'm okay now. I think I'm all right. But who knows? I'll fix it over the weekend. Because I now it seems to be okay. But there also seems to be a problem with my Hold on, folks. I just want to get this fixed here. This is, I really am getting sick and tired of this, actually. But it's the way things go. Let me see here. If I go to this, and then I maybe turn this up a little bit, maybe turn up the brightness just a tad, will it be okay? Let me see here. If I turn the brightness up, oh, what is that? Wow, that's all very strange. It's all very strange. Okay, white balance temperature, turn that off, turn this on. Okay, I guess, no, you see what happens if I get a little shade in there? My eyes all of a sudden disappear. Oh well. I don't know what the problem is, and I, quite frankly, don't give a good goddamn. Let me see here. Let me just do one last thing here, and see what happens with. Oh well, we'll just have to live with it, I guess. Huh? I guess. Alrighty. I give up. You know. I can go to this thing and I go to camera, and then it turns that up, and then it turns this down. Watch this. See? Oops, wait a minute. We go down. There we go. Okay. Well, I guess this is as best as it's going to get. Anyway. Hello. How are you? Isn't this nice? Huh? Yeah. Anyway. My face is a little too red. I'm gonna have to fix this over the weekend. Anyway, I've got some people to get in here and start talking to. I hope you enjoyed that little technical stuff we've been doing, and we've got a whole bunch of people here. And let me see here. Let me go to the panel, and there they are. So far, there's Jeff, and there's Vernon, and there is Charlie and Josh. Hello, Josh. And of course, Trucker Steve is here as well. So, anyway, yeah.
I'm not dead yet.
You're not dead yet? No.
Me either.
How do you know?
How are you feeling?
Okay, good.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You look healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel a lot better, yeah.
Yeah, you're looking healthy.
I haven't been on the show that much lately because I sleep a lot early because of my dialysis appointments.
Yeah, darn.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll just have to do the show at a more convenient hour for you. You know? Anyway. So where are we? Let's see here. So I'm sorry I had a little technical difficulties there, but I can't figure out what happened with my blue screen or green screen or whatever, but it was not doing what it should do. I'll fix it over the weekend. Anyway, let me see here. Oh, listen, we went to the this virtual Van Gogh thing they have here. It was a big deal. Where I can't really describe it, but it's kind of they call it a virtual Van Gogh or whatever, and you go into these rooms, and the pictures are all over, and they've animated them and so on. And there are two of them in New York, and Marjorie took me to the wrong one. I love her for her sweetness in getting tickets for this, but a friend of hers got tickets earlier, and they saw it a couple of weeks ago at this other location, and the other location, she said, was so much better. This was just just the moving exhibit, and then a bunch of souvenirs that you could buy. And all I could
exit through the gift shop, huh?
Yeah, well, exit through the gift shop, exactly. As a matter of fact, we're going to go see a Banksy exhibition. So I wonder if we do exit through the gift shop on that one. Anyway, so anyway, here are all these souvenirs of Van Gogh, like what do you call it? Thermos bottles with Van Gogh's art on it. And you're going, when Van Gogh painted this, do you think he said, when I'm finished with this, I'm going to try and turn these into thermos bottles? No. So I hated it. I really did. I
Coffee mugs.
Well, what they were doing is they were animating his art. And they were stripping his art of the backgrounds, and Dr. Daché, which is the famous painting of his. You had the doctor, but you didn't have the background. And that's all part of it. It's all part of the way he did it. And it was just, I thought it was ghastly. What is that noise? Anybody know what it is? Huh? Well, anyway. So that's
almost sounds like what you used to have on Skype with slapback.
No, well, let me just turn this down a second and then bring it back up and see it's still there. I don't know.
Hmm.
The big suspect is always Jeff, but listen to that. What? Oh boy! Between the picture tonight and, it never ends. It never ends. Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, mute yourselves for a second. And let me see if it still does it. Okay? Okay, they're all muted except for Jeff. But Jeff, you're fine. It isn't you, Jeff. Okay, Vernon, turn yours on. Hello, Vernon. Can you hear me now? Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Charlie, turn yourself on. I mean, I don't mean turn yourself on. I mean, are you okay? You're turned on. Now, Josh, turn yourself on. Okay, Josh is fine. Okay, we only have one person left, and that's Trucker Steve. Turn it on, Trucker Steve. Unmute yourself. Do you know where to do that? Yeah. Okay, and now it's fine. Huh? That's strange. And Jeff,
Process of elimination means it's Jeff.
well, no, but Jeff is unmuted right now, and he's fine. So I guess it was just something that we got rid of by getting rid of it. But anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight with all the technical difficulties, the back screen not being very good, things like that. Really nice, really good. Anyway. Where are we? So, that's what happened today with me, and then I had to re-register myself to vote because they sent me a thing saying, well, when you went down and you did this provisional ballot, you didn't put down a party you're supposedly part of or something, and I changed my party. And I did all of that online, and they sent me a note saying you're now a Democrat, and that was the sum total of it. And apparently something didn't go through. So tonight I re-registered again. So that too.
You were a Republican now.
What?
I'm
something. It doesn't matter what you are. The only difference is you can't vote in a primary if you're an independent. That's why I stopped being an independent, because I want to be able to vote in the primary. I felt disenfranchised. But the fact of the matter is that if I sign up as a Republican, I can go over and fuck up their stuff,
Democrat, right?
Right? I can always vote for like the horrible guy or the worst guy or whatever.
I think they should do away with all primaries anyway.
Well, of course.
Save lots of taxpayer money.
But anyway, so I don't know. But did anybody today, I hate to go back to the Cuomo thing, but there has been a major development. Did anybody see the lawyer for Cuomo today?
I only heard that somebody's pressing charges.
Well, no. Okay. That's all part of it. Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio when you were working.
If you get a chance, go onto YouTube and if you go to just news, it'll be one of the things that's there. It's the lawyer for Cuomo, literally laying out part of their case, and one of them is this woman who is now filing criminal charges against the governor for having fondled her breasts. Right? That's the worst accusation of all of them. Nobody else said, hey, touched me under my blouse or whatever. Oh, he asked me some questions that made me feel uncomfortable or, whatever. She lays out this woman's complete, it supposedly happened when she went to the Capitol to help him with either an iPhone problem or something like that, right?
Wasn't she his assistant?
Well, they say an executive assistant. Known as Executive Assistant 1, because she doesn't want to be named. All right? So she's filed the criminal charges. They went on today, and they listed every movement she made when she was in that building. And she told the newspaper she was only there for like 10 minutes, but it turned out she was there for 2 hours. And none of those were spent in the executive office. And they list everywhere she was, and all the emails she sent back and forth within the company, within the Capitol, and everything. And it shows that Cuomo couldn't have possibly done what she said he did. And then they had another one. I'm trying to remember which one that was. That they brought up, and this was the her name is Boyle or Doyle or Bosley or something like that, and she was actually running for political office, and they have all the goods on her that she was doing this to make him look bad, and so she could also get publicity for her run for office. So what they're charging is that what the group, the people who investigated him did, is they ignored anything that didn't play into him having done something. And they according to the lawyers, they had this information and they didn't use it. Okay, when they came to their decision. So I mean, it looks like it's going to be a battle royale going on in a couple of weeks here in the state of New York with this whole thing. And they've taken the gloves off. I mean, and they've got the goods on this one woman at least. It looks like it at least, and they laid it out. They actually had the graphs and where she was, when she was, and where she was doing it, who she talked to, and how she communicated, and how she liked, I don't know, the cookies or something they had there on the first floor, and it's really very fascinating. So if you get a chance, watch that.
Look it up. Now I'm interested.
What do you think, Vernon? I mean, about what I just said. I mean, you're not completely 100% onto it, right?
It goes back to the discussion that got out of hand on Tuesday, and I was there, kind of sitting back and watching it go on. But there were two opinions that both were valid. Yours, a very valid opinion, and Robert had a very valid opinion. Mm-hmm. But nowhere during that discussion, in hindsight, did I hear that expressed. In other words, that's a very valid opinion. However, I have a different opinion. And it started going like this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can't have a reasonable discussion once it gets out of hand like that. From what you're saying, if that's true, then Cuomo's got a damn good defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you go to this, if you go to it, it's fascinating. They literally list every movement this woman made while she was in the executive offices, and they can pretty much do that these days because they follow texts and things like that. And it seems to say that at no point was she alone with the governor. She claimed that after she left the room and told him to stop it, he slammed the door. And they said, if somebody slams a door in that old building, you hear it everywhere in the building, and nobody heard it. These were things she said to the newspaper. So they're taking her accounts that she gave to the newspaper about what went on and just tearing them down and saying, she's patently lying. So
that's what a good defense lawyer does.
That's what a good defense lawyer does, exactly. So, it's good TV, And if you're following this, have you been following this whole thing, Josh, or do you just not care?
I wouldn't say following it. I mean, I'm aware of it. I know a fair amount about it. We've discussed it here. I mean, I'm not glued to it or anything like that. I mean, but
well, we're not asking that you be glued to it.
I mean, but I know what's going on. I mean, I didn't see his lawyer's press conference or anything today. I mean, and I haven't been watching their press conference.
Well, something you probably pay.
I know what's going on.
I pay more attention to it than you guys do because I live here in New York. Yeah. And it's a big New York story.
I pay attention because my son lives in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not very big fan of Cuomo. Even before any of that, really. I mean, I think I got caught up, and tonight in a few hours of some of the shows from the middle of the week. And look, frankly, I don't understand why people can just not let other people think something else and then kind of go over it or whatever, and then you reach a point where the other person's mind isn't going to be changed or anything. Well, then
Well, the only place where I would kind of disagree with Vernon is that I pretty much had the attitude about that's your opinion, and I'm not going to hold it against you. What we're doing is we're having discussions here. We're not trying to start wars. There's no winning or losing here.
No, but what I was talking about though is that it's a very valid point that when you're in public office, one of your primary jobs is to have the faith of the public that you're doing what you should be doing.
Yeah, but what happens when other people go about eroding that faith, in spite of the fact that it's maybe not warranted?
No, that's a valid point too.
Yeah.
I mean, if these people are seeking public office themselves and they're just trying to sling dirt because they want to get elected to your job, then
Well, you know what I would do?
It could all be bullshit too.
If you're governor or you're even a famous person of any sort, you should never be in a room alone with a woman without someone else there, okay? Without somebody else being there. It's just not a good idea.
I mean, I can take both sides of it, and I understand your point. I mean, the kind of stuff that you argued about on Tuesday and Wednesday or whatever. But I mean, I guess, like I said, really don't care for Cuomo, etc. The whole resignation thing or whatever. But I mean, I can understand you saying that even if some of this stuff happened, it's not completely egregious or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And and then like on the other hand, even though I don't like the guy, look, I can accept the fact if somebody, even if Cuomo came out and said, "Hey, you know what? It's all 100% true. He did it. I did it. It's 100% true. I like women. I like touching women. I like feeling women. I like seeing if I can fuck women. And you know what? That's who I am, and I'm staying because the other side can't throw me out because when their guy did this and 10 times worse, they said it was locker room talk."
Right.
And he stayed, and I'm fucking staying.
Right. Right.
And I could say, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and say I liked it, okay, or anything. You know what I'm saying? But I could say.
Well, here's the thing.
Fine.
Here's the thing. I don't think I wasn't that big a fan of Cuomo's. Okay. In fact, the funny story was I had this neuropathy, and I went to my neurologist, and he then gave me a bunch of tests. Asked me a bunch of questions for a test, and he said, "Who's the governor of New York?" And I didn't know, to tell you the damn truth. And then he said, "Well, who's the mayor of New York?" And I couldn't remember. And that's how much I cared about New York politics, okay? When he finally said Cuomo and de Blasio, I went, "Oh yeah, okay." So now, that's before the whole deal with COVID. COVID comes along, and I become very aware of Cuomo because every day I looked forward to those pep talks he was giving us, and they're really very good pep talks. I think that he brought about a certain attitude in New York that we're going to beat this thing, and we were just, I got to tell you, I went past Mount Sinai Hospital, and there was a tent outside put up by, I think, Franklin Graham's organization. Come on in, we'll help you with COVID, just say you believe in God. But there was a tent outside Mount Sinai. They were using big freezer trucks as morgues. It was horrible here. 900 new cases every day. Wait a minute. No, more than that. 900 deaths every day.
Crazy.
Can you even imagine that? Well, he brought it down to a point where it went to 0. Okay? But through his little talks every day and his come on, we can do this, and wear a mask, and, do this and do that, and taking all the measures to, like, clean up the subways, and on and on and on. And so I got to like him because of that. But I knew he was a bully. I knew that if you were a political opponent, you better watch out. He was going to do anything it took to smash you. He was that kind of guy. He was that kind of politician. So, there
are lots of politicians like that.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad. I think the only people that should not be allowed to run for politics are politicians. The people we've got who want that kind of job are kind of nutcases.
Especially professional politicians like Mitch McConnell.
Yes, absolutely. From your own state, right?
Yep.
So, I just, it's who knows? Anyway, I'm punchy again tonight. I don't know why. So, yes, Jeff.
Well, I think the one thing that's interesting is that this lady is actually suing the governor.
Yeah. But when I don't know how far she's going to go now, because they laid out this case, and this, and lawyers don't generally lay out a case before they go to court, right? They want to surprise people, right? And here they laid it out. They said, "Come ahead, sue us, but let's look at this. We got all this information here showing you're lying."
Well, in every court case that I'm aware of, there's the thing called discovery. So if they know stuff, they've got to tell the other side what they know.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but you don't have to show your hand until it's time to show your hand. Here, they were showing their hand right now. They said, "This is what we got on you. This is." It looked like this would be what would wind up in the thing that the state has requested, because they're thinking about impeaching him. That they want to tell their side of the story, and they've said yes. And by the way, everybody, I'm on TV today. This is our side of the story, because they felt that what went on was that they had a preconceived notion of what they wanted the answer to be, what they wanted the result to be, and they discounted all information that would have played into him not having done it, and just accepted information that was the other way. So, and it wasn't like a really legal case. It was just that they were looking into these accusations, and this is what they came out with. But it seemed like they were kind of in what they did. They didn't come out with just information. They came out with just a lot of really nasty stuff, and But anyway, hello, Charlie. Haven't seen you this week because you're probably baseballing it up to a fairly well, right?
Yeah. Been several weeks. Just got rained out tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of changing the time the show goes on, switching with Jack, so you can then call the show.
No, he'll be asleep by then.
Who?
Charlie.
I'm on Jack's show every night.
No, he's on Jack's show.
Well, I'm asleep.
You're asleep? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
Sometimes
see.
I have a hard time staying up this late. Sometimes I have a hard time staying up this late.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hello to Brian Neary. Look, Brian. You see what?
Nice hat.
Huh? Nice hat, huh?
Nice hat.
Huh? That's I got that from somebody. Wait a minute. Let me.
Where'd you steal that?
Hold on a second. I got some other stuff here too that was sent to me.
I gotta take a picture of that so I can show all my friends at work a has-been. Some fucking has-been wearing our stuff.
Yeah. It has been. Oh. Anyway, hold on a second now.
I don't have my laptop from work, so I have like all this set up. No light or anything.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and I got some kind of noise in the picture tonight. God bless it. Anyway, what is this to begin with? You have to
Oh,
explain.
that's Adrian. She made a rainbow for you. No, go see the rainbow.
Okay.
Other way.
Oh, it's the other way. There's the rainbow.
There you go. See, it's a rainbow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rainbow with the ground on the bottom.
Yeah, and what? Oh, this is the ground on the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I want to show you the other thing she sent me.
This is the one she made like last year, and I keep forgetting to send it to you.
Look at that. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
There's a citizen panel.
Well, there's
Yeah, citizen panel.
There's Adrian,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
right? And who is this guy with one hair coming up the
That's
top of
me.
his head? You see that, folks?
All the men have like that, and all the girls have the hair going there.
And then there's the citizen panel, right?
Yeah,
citizen
I
panel.
On
love
the
it.
computer. Now, you know what is great about this, and she has a real talent. Everything is in proper perspective.
Yeah.
You know, when she gets older, she probably would be very good thinking about an art career because she has a sense of perspective.
Yeah,
And,
her proportions are really good.
the
And this
proportion-
is from like a year ago. She's gotten a lot better, but yeah, her legs and everything are not too short, not too
Oh,
long.
you just missed it.
When was this done?
Same thing, 6 months ago or so.
Okay. Well,
But there's a better one.
if you see her,
Yeah,
tell her I
think she'll
love
be
her.
up.
Tell her I love
She'll
her.
be up later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alex,
I'll
hold
love
up
her.
the other one. About,
Which one? The picture?
The one where it shows the whole house. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pam's looking at it now.
Yeah, that it's Brian with one hair coming off the top of his head. He looks like Zippy the
Hey,
Pinhead.
that's all it was, right?
Yeah,
It's got 4 legs too.
yeah.
I see Robin Natalie down there.
Yeah, that's an old one.
I'm joking.
You know, I
I
have
think,
her.
I think Bree was on that one too, so that's an old version.
Who? Oh,
Bree was on the citizen panel, I think. There, so that's an old
oh,
version.
I heard from Bree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bree's been writing me today on my YouTube page, and saying just nasty crap that I don't understand, accusing me of all kinds of stuff.
From what? Of what?
You?
Well,
You know, he was a big Trump fan, so maybe he's just pissed off that Trump lost.
I know what happened was. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find the.
I always thought he was a nice guy, Bree. She was like this whole.
Well, he was okay. Yeah.
Don't worry about him because they can't get
Okay.
the vaccine over there.
This is it had to do with the thing with Bob Natale. You deserve it, Alex. That guy attacked me out of nowhere, and you piled on. I wasn't even there. I participated in your show for years, listened to you for years, and you tossed me away like yesterday's trash. Ad hominem attacks and more. And what goes around comes around. And then he sent me a second note here that reads, just desserts. Now, does anybody remember what went on?
Who is this?
This is,
I don't-
remember Bree? The guy was always cleaning his
From
backyard.
Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, he lives in Kuala Lumpur.
The Kuala Lumpur. I mean, all I know is that somebody said something nasty about him on the chat. Okay. And then I think either I mentioned it or one of you guys mentioned it, and we all kind of laughed a little bit. And then he said, "Well, that's it. I've had it," and he left. Now, I number one, I didn't know it was my job to, defend him. Secondly, you take that kind of thing and let it roll off your back. What you're going to be, into it with trolls. I mean, I can't remember. Does anybody remember exactly what went down?
I just remember he kept gardening, and it was very distracting.
Yeah.
Remember, he was gardening.
Yeah, you're right.
He was gardening, and then he'd be rustling around, and then he'd mention something, and then walk away again.
Yeah,
I don't think
but
he was a nice
I
guy.
he had these
patches and walk around the mall or something.
but I
I don't
don't.
remember you telling him he couldn't call or anything.
No, and
No,
I don't think I tossed him to the wolves either.
No, you didn't ban him or anything. No.
No, but I
But
didn't.
at least,
but I
he's
didn't.
still watching. At least he's still watching.
Can I say this, Alex? Bree, if you're watching, just call up and discuss it. What's with all these?
Bree, I mean, come on. What, you're going to hold on to a grudge for the rest of your life? Life's too short to hold on to grudges.
I mean, Alex, how many people died from COVID and they're worried about
with grudges, I had a theory, and it was a good theory. It was a fine theory. I would only let a grudge go for about 5 years. And then I would say, okay, the grudge is now over with. And the reason it's over with is life's too short to hold a bunch of grudges, right? But you get rid of a grudge. Now he has a grudge against me, which I think is not deserved. But in his mind it is, and if it is, I'm sorry if I did anything to upset you. That's it, plain and simple.
Well, you still got 4 more years.
What?
4 more years.
4 years for what?
Well, you said you
Where's grudge?
Oh yeah. No, but
4 more years for the grudge.
No, but I don't.
You haven't told. You haven't told. Robert he couldn't call either. Correct? I mean,
no,
right.
No. Although I think at this point, I deserve an apology.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I mean, I just some of the intolerance that you get from people that call here sometimes of other people's opinions has rubbed people the wrong way at times. I mean, we're a little bit more freewheeling on Saturdays when we talk because of that, but here's the thing. I mean, people fight and then they get over it. Big fucking deal. So, I mean, you and I can air our fucking old dirty laundry, right? Did we not at one time? I mean, right?
Oh yeah, you and I.
And then whatever.
Yeah, and
But everyone has to get all at the time, I got all 20 messages or whatever. Oh, you're such an asshole and dick. You fucking care. People fight and then they move on.
Well, I mean, it's what I wrote. I wrote Robert. The last note I wrote him went, "Come on, it's only a show. It's only a show. You're going to take it that seriously?" He
was mean at the end, though. He called you a hack. He said you're never
No, you're a has-been. You're a has-been.
Has-been.
Which, by the way, in Robert's case, it's better than being a never was. So, I mean, I just, and if he were to apologize for what he did the other night, which I think was unwarranted because I've been very good to him, he wasn't happy coming on the show because certain people were coming after him, so I gave him his own little shot at doing Thursday nights for about 25 minutes with me.
And I was enjoying it a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't do that for everybody. Although at the rate I'm going, it may wind up being everybody, but but I mean, I have always been very nice and appreciative of him and everything. And when we didn't hear from him for a while, I wrote him to say, "Hey, are you okay?" Things like that. So when he all of a sudden went on this rage, all of a sudden of just attacking me, and then finishing off by telling me to go fuck myself after he was bothered by somebody else telling him. I think it was Phil Meyer who told him to go fuck himself.
That was funny.
Okay, and he didn't like it, but he told me to go fuck myself, and then said you're a has-been and hung up. So.
Vernon has his hand up.
Yes, Vernon.
I wasn't on the show Wednesday night, but I did listen to it after it was recorded and posted on Facebook. On YouTube.
Yeah.
But I got the impression, not that he didn't overreact. I agree, he kind of overreacted on what he did to you and said to you, and then hung up in a huff. Mm-hmm. But from the previous night, and then again on Wednesday night, he felt like, at least I got the impression that he felt like you weren't listening to him about the public trust that Cuomo was seemingly losing.
No, he was just mad because I disagreed with him. He did,
but he wanted to be listened to. He wanted his point of view to be acknowledged, and you wouldn't acknowledge it.
Oh, I
agree.
I had acknowledged his point of view the night before. I mean, that I understand his point of view, but I have mine, and here's mine.
But the other thing too was that trying to make the equivalency between what was happening with Cuomo and the accusations against Cuomo versus some of the other Me Too crap. And
I think that
I don't think he agreed with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I happen to think that you don't want to do anything to dismiss rape as putting it on the same level with rape, because I mean, it's not. It's just not.
Right. And I haven't heard anybody do that except on that show Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing was, it was Tuesday night, and then there was it Tuesday night? The Tuesday night that we argued it.
Yes.
And then I think it was Wednesday night he hung up on me. Was that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you listen to Tuesday night. Like Brennan says, Tuesday night's really the key. You look at that, and only you and him were talking all night. Even Alan didn't get a word edgewise, which is amazing. So,
I had people write and complain that he was monopolizing the show.
To get his point of view, but to him it wasn't his point of view, because at the very beginning he called in, even on the chat he was saying you are wrong. He wasn't saying I don't agree with your opinion, but he said you were wrong, and that's where
the next night I think he came on to do exactly what he did. Because he did that to Phil.
Yeah, you're right. You might be right.
Almost the same thing. Phil says you must know now how it feels.
Yeah, he really went after Phil on that.
Yeah. But I don't. I mean, I was just disturbed because I didn't know where this vitriol was coming from. Because
I think that was an overreaction.
Yeah, of course it was an overreaction.
And I'm not sure what else was going on in his life or whatever, but we all get our things in a ringer once in a while.
Yeah. But I mean, if he wants to say he's sorry for the way he acted towards me, he's welcome on this show anytime. I got mad at Tony one night, and Tony came on the next night and apologized.
Can I say something about that? I really am sorry, Alex, when I said that, but it really wasn't, and I told this to Phil, it wasn't meant really towards you indirectly. What I was mad is, and I don't like to speak about Robert like this, but when him and Phil were arguing that night, he said, Phil, if I scratch you, you're a racist. To me, that's what ticked me off. When you were kind of like so you were trying to play peacemaker. I don't want to talk about it, but he did say that, and I got annoyed because he doesn't even know anybody to say. I wouldn't even say, so-and-so is a racist, because Phil was disagreeing with his point, I think. But you don't call somebody, like, in an underlining way that term without even knowing.
Well, look, this is all a bunch of people getting together, discussing stuff. Maybe they get a little heated with each other, but nobody should walk away from this program feeling hurt. That's not the purpose of the program.
That doesn't matter. I mean, I wish we had more disagreement. It's more fun.
And it's good to disagree, Josh, like you said. But you don't want to call anybody. I would never want to call somebody a bad term.
I mean, that's the problem that we get into sometimes, is when people don't agree. Sometimes you get one party. This is not Robert or anything. I'm just saying this has happened in the past many times, and they just can't, they just can't get in their mind that someone else would believe something differently than they do, and then they suddenly it's personal with you, and it's just, I mean, I wish you had like 3 or 4 people who maybe held Phil's opinion that called with this group, and it would be way more exciting. I mean, I'm sure you remember the very long Saturday night one time where we discussed the January 6th riot, and probably thought Patrick and I were going to get in a fight there for about 45 minutes, but we didn't, because that's not what we do. We just, we're off, and we went round and round about that.
Well,
impeachment, and it was fucking great, man.
I guess I can say what happens every Saturday night. Patrick and I and Josh and Kevin get together and just get on Zoom and just talk to each other, right? And I totally disagree with maybe 50% of what Patrick says, and yet I appreciate Patrick and he appreciates me, and it's all done in the spirit of camaraderie. And I just don't think that anybody should take this program that seriously, that they act the way that Robert did the other night. It's just, I can see you being tough in your opinion. That I understand, but
he was just being rude and inappropriate.
He came on that night to be the way it turned out,
Yeah.
I mean, if you have people that listen, and hopefully the panel would agree that do not hold the same political views as most of the people in here or me or whatever, I would be perfectly happy if they called. And I would be more than willing to go around in circles with them for an hour and a half. I mean, the most fun I fucking had in a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't have to be like, man, I hate that guy or what. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, the problem
I've gotten upset before openly when people would call Phil a name about his physical size or something. I mean, like,
yeah.
What, you can't argue with Phil? You got to call him fat? I mean, come on, man.
The problem with Phil was he would dominate the conversation.
That's the problem that Phil had. Yeah.
That was the problem Phil had. When you get a group like this going on, you can't have one guy interrupting everybody when they say two words. And that's what Phil did.
Yeah, well, that was the problem that Phil had. And part of that is that because there weren't, say, other people of his ilk on this panel, he would
run rampant.
He would run rampant because he felt he had to defend himself. So he felt kind of,
But I would certainly be up for plenty of people from the other side. I mean, I sometimes think, man, I know a few people that are, as whacked out in the head as Phil. Maybe I could get them to call. I mean, look, why was Crossfire such a popular program on CNN in the 90s? I mean, because people like to watch people argue, right? I mean, it's more entertaining to me anyway, than a Rachel Maddow or somebody telling you what she thinks.
Well, that's what makes
15 minutes with no one else to say anything against.
That's what makes MSNBC so fucking boring, is that there isn't enough of that, give and take. I know that when I first started doing talk radio here in New York, I was at WMCA, which had just gone talk at the time, or half talk. They were half talk, half music. Very strange format. Until a few years later when they all went all talk. But anyway, I went on after a guy by the name of Bob Grant.
Well, I like Bob Grant.
And Bob was a right winger, but he was all show business. Okay, well, he knew this was putting on a show too, and he and I, when we would do our crossover between his show and my show, we'd start getting into arguments.
Are you forward?
And that made for good radio. And then I would do my show, and the person after me might be a middle of the roader, and the person after that a right winger. The trouble is, you turn on to something like MSNBC, and you're getting the same soup every hour. And then the people they bring on, no Republican wants to be on MSNBC. So consequently, you've got nothing but a bunch of people blasting away at the Republicans. And I would love to see a channel where you had this mix-up of right and left on the station, but that you don't. And that's the trouble with what they're doing today.
You have to change channels to watch that.
Well, you have to go back and forth really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
or you get the 15-minute segment on Fox where they bring in a Democrat for 5 minutes and they argue and then they go to a commercial.
Well,
That's
I'll tell you, go over to Fox. If I go over to Fox, I feel like I'm going into a different world altogether.
Sure, it is.
It's like all of a sudden I've gone from a place where there was a riot on January 6th to a place where it was really just a bunch of people having a fun time.
And you patriots protesting.
Yeah. And while I think that the perception of what went on that day is the one that I saw with my eyes, although I did make an argument years ago that the trouble with television is it's a frame, okay? And whatever they're photographing in that frame is what they want you to see. So the eye of the camera is quite prejudiced. But people say, I saw it, so therefore it must be true. And I was saying this about the riots in Chicago, that nobody saw what was going on outside the frame, where people getting their heads beaten in and everything else, And I think that's the problem too, is that there's this myopic vision of the cameras with those networks as to what they're actually going to shoot. But that day, I don't think you could put that camera in any direction and not gotten that carnage. Okay? So I'm not going to say the cameras were prejudiced. I mean, where were they having this happy party? I don't see it. Yeah. But nevertheless, and then you go over to Fox and you hear one thing about COVID, and you go over to MSNBC, you hear a whole different thing about COVID. So, I mean, it's just, this has got to stop. The media is ruining this country.
Listen, Jack's got his hand up.
Yes, Jack's got his hand
up. Oh, hey,
he doesn't understand that you don't have to raise your hand anymore, because when you start talking, we see you're doing it. But anyway, Go ahead. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I'm thinking about I'm doing, my show where you got to raise your hand.
Right.
First of all, Alex, I agree with you 100% that there was a time when this talk media that we do was far more varied. And you'd have a station that would do, like you said, there'd be a guy on the left, a guy on the right, maybe a guy in the middle. And frankly, we talked more about other things than politics.
Right.
And I think the sad thing that's happened is the corporations that run the big outfits have said, look, we know we can make money doing this, and we don't have to worry about.
Well, that's exactly what NBC did with MSNBC.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think they've changed ownership, but they used to be GE. If you think GE is a left-wing organization, you're out of your mind.
My God.
I got so tired of friends of mine who weren't in the media saying, well, the media is all left-wing. And I turned to some other friends and said, oh, it's all right-wing. And I had to tell them, the media is all money.
Well, let me tell you this. I used to, every week, I was on MSNBC for about 12 weeks straight. Do you remember whose show I was on?
Yeah, I used to watch that.
No, I don't remember the show.
Huh? Tucker Carlson show. I was on with Tucker Carlson. He was on MSNBC, folks.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And now he's over in Hungary with the dictator.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to say, the Tucker treated me pretty damn well. I mean, that I have to say. His politics are for crap, but he treated me okay, And I was treated fairly on that show. And even when when MSNBC said, we don't like that segment you do with Alex Bennett and this other guy, we would like you just to do something else, blah, blah, blah. He went out and fought for us. But he didn't win, but he fought for us. And, I was as left-wing on that show as you could possibly get. I was probably more left-wing than anybody who's on MSNBC right now. And yet Tucker was very fair to me and was very happy to have me on and liked my participation. He didn't suddenly say, oh, that Bennett, he's too left-wing, I don't want him on. So, But that's what happened back in the day. He could be there, and then somebody else who was on the left could be there. And it was kind of, it's just sad what's happening. And it's media that is bringing this country to its fucking knees, I think. Because
media and religion.
Oh, religion!
Media
no,
and
but
religion.
Religion has been a problem ever since one guy found out that he could make money getting people from other people by trying to sell them a fantasy. Okay.
Jim Baker.
Huh?
Jim Baker.
Jim Baker.
Yeah.
Jim Baker.
Jim and Tammy Faye.
You know something? Warm spot in my heart for them. I don't know if I have time. We're running out of time here. What? I thought their show was the most entertaining show on television.
And you've never seen Jimmy Swaggart?
No, Swaggart is a creep. But Jim and Tammy Baker, All they wanted to do was entertain their Christian audience. That was basically their mission. They did it with puppet shows,
and collect money.
But they also built what they said they were going to build. They said, "Send us your money. We're going to build an amusement park for Christians," and they did it. It was there. The problem was not with Jim Bakker and Tammy Faye. The problem was with the people who were running the place while they were doing the shows. I mean, I heard stories that people would go into the counting room, where all the money comes in and everything, and start stuffing money in their pockets. Now, this wasn't Jim and Tammy. This was other people, I mean, I'm not going to defend them entirely because they were religious hustlers. But of all of them, probably the best, and the most decent. Swaggart was a creep. Falwell was horrible. And you know why Jim Bakker went down? Because he had something they all wanted that he wouldn't share with them. In the early days, he saw the value of satellite delivery TV stations. And so he got a whole bunch of transponders on satellites. They didn't have any. If they wanted to go up, they had to go through him and use his transponders. And so they saw something there where they could jump in, grab PTL, grab the satellites, and have it for themselves. And so Falwell went to him and said, "You're in trouble right now. All this stuff is happening," which they kind of created. And if you want to get away from this, just sign everything over to me. And then when you pass this, I'll give it back to you. Never did. There's a whole story there that's never been really written about what went down there, but it was a whole power play among a bunch of God-fearing assholes,
Didn't Bakker go to jail?
Huh? Bakker went to jail. Yeah. He went to jail, and I think wasn't it over what's her name, Jessica Hahn? I think, if I remember correctly, I think that was part of it. But
he had an affair with her, but I think he went to jail for embezzlement or something.
Yeah, I think Vern's right.
You could be right, but I do remember the Jessica Hahn part of it, that component. So, anyway, but we lost. Did we lose? Who did we lose? We lost somebody.
Jack.
Jack. Oh yeah, Jack has to go do a show.
He has to go get ready for his show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Wasn't there one other person here though? It's everybody that should be. Anyway, one day I'll get into the whole Jim Bakker thing when I'm a little more lucid and I've got time to tell the whole story. But I followed that whole thing very carefully because I used to watch that show every day. I found it incredibly entertaining. Especially the little kid who had no arms and no legs who used to roll around on the floor on that show. Yeah. And then when they built the amusement park, they had, Timmy's house or whatever the guy's name was, and you could go see he and all his little weird friends, had problems. And it was like their version of a freak show. I mean, it was some amazing stuff there. And, but anyway, hey,
in Kentucky, we have a taxpayer sponsored park adventure.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
where they
They built an amusement park in northern Kentucky, and they did it with tax-free funds.
Nice.
Well, because they're a religious organization, right?
Yep.
Right. Anyway, hey, listen, there goes the music, and it's nice that you've been here. We, of course, Jeff, always like having you here. Vernon, always happy to see your face here. Okay, just know that you're very welcome on this show. Until you get uppity with me, and then
and then I can go fuck myself.
You can go fuck yourself. Yeah. Charlie Wallace, thank you. I wish baseball came to a close. When's it over?
Not until December.
Oh, jeez. I'm not going to see you till December?
Well, he lives in Texas, so the surge might cut it short.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. Thank you very much, Josh. Appreciate it. And it's good to see Trucker Steve because we like to make sure he's okay. So pop in here occasionally so we can see that you're okay. Josh? Excuse me, not Josh. Tony, thank you. I already thanked Josh. And Kevin, thank you. And thank you to Brian. And by the way, this is a great hat. I love hats. And I'll probably be wearing this one more than less because it's just cut very nicely. You guys did a great job of it. So
doesn't fit my head, my big head.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody give a big wave goodbye. I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? And there they go. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There they go. Okay. Thank you, citizen panel. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all joining me tonight. And I appreciate you out there. See, I got this background fixed now. I enjoy having all of you here too. We'll see you again. Let's see, Monday we do our little Monday 4 o'clock in the afternoon show. It's a very nice show. You should check it out. It's called The Pop-Up. And then we'll see you again right back here, 10:30. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay, will you? And by the way, if you haven't been vaccinated, do it, okay? Bye.